it's gonna like fall apart or anything. But it's always good to try and alleviate a little bit of pressure where I can. So for you guys watching, as this may go on YouTube, hell, he's just requested it go on YouTube. We are going to be doing a Zerg versus Terran coaching here. Now, I normally like to start the VOD right at this point where the gameplay started, but we've actually already been talking for a little bit this game. I am gonna, oops, oh fuck me. I always make a mistake with this, but I am just gonna fix up the audio slightly. I'm just going to turn his volume down so we can't hear his keyboard tapping away. There we go. Okay, so what's going to happen, guys, is we are doing ZvT coaching here with Milkman. We're helping him out in a few different matchups today, but right now our focus is on defending drops. How to defend drops. Diamond 3 Zerg. Defending multi-prong drops. And what we've talked about so far is something which Milkman wasn't already doing, which is he needs to start using the control group stealing to split his army up a little bit more effectively to defend those multi-prong drops. And especially when you're playing a Roach Ravager style where you don't have anything to shoot up other than a couple queens, and your opponent can just drop, pick up, drop, pick up. They can, you know, drop on the low ground, drop on the high ground. They can really run around. It's very important for you to not constantly bring your whole army back to one location. And then they drop 2 locations again. You have to, you know, you got to split it up and you're trying to separate it, but then you press your control group and accidentally bring all the units together and you end up fighting yourself. Control group stealing allows you to simply split your units into different groups, into different sections, so that, you know, they're automatically on different hotkeys. You grab units, you number them on a different hotkey, and it steals them off the previous hotkey. It takes them out of it. And this is going to allow us to split up our units really well and just generally, you know, feel a lot more comfortable with exactly what's going on. Now, Peacekeeper did say he's going to be a bit rusty with his 2-on-1, and he actually locked his SCV out, which is why his okay, that's fine. I think he's not doing a 2-on-1, but that's okay. I don't care. I don't care. It's fine. He's going to be coming in here. Let's see. Ooh, so first mistake was not being prepared for that. And this third Overlord, I feel like, was even a little bit late, to be honest. I'm not really sure. But yeah, it looked like that Overlord was a bit late because it should have already been out by now and sitting over here. In terms of its position, it's not really going to be watching that ledge, but this is not too massive. But I'm still going to write a note here and I'm going to say, okay, Game 1 Odyssey should have Lings in position for Reaper jumping into main. Usually Overlord should be faster and watching for that too. So here at 36 supply, he is dropping a Roach Warren. Now, if I remember correctly with our build order, and I'm going to scroll down and double check the build order, it is a 36 Roach Warren, 44 take a third base, 50 lair, Evo chamber, and 2 times gas. And then about 5 minutes. I think he might go double Evo, in which case it'll be 5 minutes double Evos. So he needs that third base now. It looks like, yep, he's going to be taking that right around 44 supply. So yeah, he seems to be pretty comfortable with this build order. He's got a few speedlings over on that side of the map. And yeah, he should be keeping an eye out for everything that's going on. So Peacekeeper is going to build a couple Widow Mines here. His build's not particularly tight, but that's fine. Like he said, he's going to be a bit rusty, but Maru's going to do his best. So for Milkman, just following the build order. And what are we looking for? Since there's no drop defense happening yet, the other things we wanted to talk about today was understanding scouting and kind of focusing what's going on. And ooh, that Overlord just wasn't quite on top of that little piece of high ground there. So now it's going to go down eventually, but at least it will see what's going on. It looks like he did consciously click that into the main base and say, you know what, let's see what's happening. We'll see 2 barracks, starport with a reactor, and you go, okay, it's a 2-on-1 sort of build. Lots of Marines and medevacs coming out, no worries. Back here, we've got a lair, Evo chamber, gas. Milkman really needs to be focusing on that drone production right now, though. So something I'm noticing is he didn't spend all of his lava just before, and is actually building a few more Zerglings. Now, that could be because he's worried about aggression and actually sees Widow Mines and Marines moving out of the map, so that's understandable. He should really be building Roaches if he's worried about this stuff. His Zerglings should run into this and give him a little bit more warning. I don't think he noticed it on the minimap. Where's the Roaches? He's freezing up really hard. He still hasn't started any roaches. Only now. So a massive delay there. Real bit of a slow reaction. Gonna write that down and be like, whoa, because this could actually really hurt him. And there's no way this push should be able to do this much. All right. So didn't notice Marines and Mines move out. Even when you did see them, you took ages to build roaches. You were just frozen on production. Alright, so right now, where are the Overlords and where are the more roaches? So more roaches did just start up. Drops a transfuse, which is kind of nice, but... should be respreading creep and really getting back on top of the macro. So, watching Milkman's view right now, I'm noticing that, okay, yes, you've defended the pressure. Now, you've got to, you know, get back in a position. Like, right now, what's he doing? He's kind of, like, looking at these roaches as they're popping out. And I'm... Okay, so he's splitting roaches into his main. That's all well and good, but that's not the important thing to be doing right now. After the push, you took a long time to respread creep and start building OVs and drones again. Remember, whenever you win a fight, push back, you know, and buy yourself time, #1 action is to do a macro cycle, which means build drones, build overlords, do injects, you know, that sort of stuff. And then, you know, you can focus on things like creep spread and tech and upgrades and all that. But it's more important to just keep your production going. And he hasn't really done that very well this game. So he also forgot to build an overseer. Forgot to build overseer for mines. Okay. Alright, where's the production? He's massing roaches like crazy right now. He's got some roaches in the main, but he's just kind of, yeah, frozen on roach production. You know, drone count froze for way too long. Now what about overlord coverage? We've got an overlord there. I would love some more overlords like further out on the map, but yeah, all things considered, it's not too bad. The thing is though, right now, he doesn't seem to be like re-establishing himself in terms of drones. Like, where's that comfort? Where's that, hey, I'm going to reassert my position here in the macro game? So I feel like Dustin has lost track of where he was. So, did you lose track of how far behind your econ was? You were going for double Evo, Bane Nest, and still producing roaches off just 42 drones forever. So, yeah, I'm gonna point out that he split the roaches a bit too early as well. And that was actually part of what he was wasting time on. Wasted time splitting up roaches when you hadn't even spotted a drop. So it wasn't urgent. He was doing that well before any drop was going to be hitting him. Just because that's what was on his mind, was we're focusing on drop defense, I'm going to do that. But yeah, at this point, he's just too far behind. Maru should be able to overwhelm him with pure bio and 2-2. Upgrade advantage, he'll have an army advantage, which he actually already has. And yeah. So we're looking at how Milkman splits his units here. Now, his main army is coming back here, but he hasn't looked at his natural at all. Yeah, he hasn't realized there's a drop in his natural. Fortunately, that spine crawler did okay, but only after he lost all the gas drones. Of course, he didn't have the numbers at this point, so things were already going wrong. So I don't really want to focus on the drop defense too much this time around. I just want to focus on, hey, what was going on in that early game, man? Why were you frozen on drones at that point? Why didn't you build roaches when he moved out? And then once you built the roaches, you know, you took so long to clean it up and just get back to your basic macro. So I've written a bunch of notes. He's going to watch the VOD later. He's heard all this analysis. What's important for me to focus on telling him to do for the next game? Because looking at how this has played out, we can just say, you know what? This was not a great game. What's important? we need to play another ZvT, and we need to try and get Milkman to play his best style. Play to his best. This is not how he normally plays. Right now, his army is literally move commanded into it. Well, it is A-moved, fortunately. But he had no idea this fight was happening for a very long time. He's totally lost his rhythm. How do we get Milkman to find his rhythm again? We say, okay, kind of froze up that game. You kind of weren't paying attention. You let your Zerglings all die just sitting out front of his base. Why were those Zerglings just sitting there? Then you still saw him move out and you weren't paying attention. What was going on? This time around, drone a little bit harder. Don't throw your Zerglings away out front of his base. That's all I'm going to say. And yeah, I mean, he should have had Lings in position for the Reaper as well. So there were small mistakes early on, which maybe threw him off a little. And it's important to have Lings in the swimming pool. So you always want to give your Zerglings a bath, guys. That's how you keep map vision. This is unimportant, right? He's just dead. He just doesn't have the numbers. You know, Maru, Peacekeeper can trade all day. We're going to finish this game in a sec, even if this push doesn't kill him. But this swimming pool here is very important. 2-2 rip. Alright, I'm going to turn his volume back on. GG, did you leave the game?
Yes.
Naughty. Rewind, everybody watching the stream as well. Every time you ever lose, and every time I do it, click rewind, because I always forget to do it as well. We always forget to do it. Click rewind, get that replay up. I want you to go to 2 minutes in the game right now. I know we're not in the same replay. I just want to spend as little time as possible going over 2 very important small things in this game, so that we can hop into another one as quickly as possible, because I want to use your time efficiently. So first things first, okay. Go into 2 minutes, 2 minutes 30.
So I have to leave the
yeah, that's fine. Leave the party, doesn't matter. Just hop in the replay as quickly as possible. Get in there, load it up, bam, bam, bam. Because I want to give you a chance to play a bunch more games today and get us to talk about a bunch of different things. So
that was super fun, by the way.
Getting used to splitting the roaches up.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
It's actually, it feels so good when you start doing it and it's like all instinct and you're just like shutting down like 3 different drops over and over again. You're like, oh yeah, I feel very fucking manly right now. It's excuse me, it's a good feeling. So by the way, do you normally not go Overlord until 21 or 22 supply? Because you did that this game.
It's like 20, yeah, 20.
Okay. Because you built it on 21 this game. It's a little bit later than normal. Just a small thing. Not a big deal. But anyway, like I said, get it to 2 minutes 30. Tell me when you're there.
2:30. Okay. I'm at 2:40. Okay, it's 2:30.
Okay, so your Zerglings weren't out in time for the Reaper, despite him going into the main base. And even though 2 of them popped, they ran away, you let him kill a drone. Did you feel a little bit on the back foot after that? Or
not really, no.
Good.
No, it's just a mistake. My pool was just a little bit late because I messed something up with, it's just a quick build order mistake in the pool a little bit late.
No worries. Awesome. So this should normally not happen. It's not a big deal. 1 drone. Okay, cool. It's not going to happen next game. Easy. Even if it does, it's not the end of the world. You see this happen to pros all the time. Beyond like always gets a drone. So where do we go next? Now we want to go up to about 4 minutes 30. If you go to 4 minutes 30, and I will find the exact moment. Okay.
Okay.
4 minutes 50. Yeah, so about 4 minutes 10. So what happens is you just leave your Zergling sitting outside his base, despite already having full Overlord vision, and you get them all killed.
Right.
Small thing, just no reason for them to be there, right? Because there's this weird thing that happens right at that moment in this game, where you don't really pay attention to what's going on. So there's this point, just watch from your camera from about 420 onwards. You're like, okay, there's some Marines. My Overlord's going to go scout, and you then build some more Overlords, and you don't have much lava. You're waiting for your next round of injects to pop. That's fine. Your injects are a bit out of sync, but yeah, not the end of the world. Okie doke. You're building some stuff. You're going to spread some creep and okie doke. All right, let's build a few more Zerglings. Now, what did you miss that entire time was a big blob of red walking right past your Overlord, right? Oh, actually,
Yeah.
sorry, that's slightly later. Sorry, I was watching on your camera. I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure it was right then. No, it was just after that. Yeah, and then you see the Widow Mines walking out, and you actually look at the Widow Mines, and then there's a whole bunch of Marines behind them. Now, did you think that was just 2 Widow Mines? Did you not catch the Marines coming out behind them?
I saw the Marines. I thought the Marines, but there's enough of them there that when I really think about it, obviously you wouldn't hunt Overlord.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was thinking. And that's why I built the 2 Overlords quick, because I thought, oh no, he might get this other 2 that's on this tower if he has any kind of high ground vision or anything. So I just built 2 quick Overlords because I hate getting supply block when I walk the map.
Right. Okay, cool. And that kind of makes sense. The important thing is you always need a Zergling in the swimming pool. And I like that you replaced your Zerglings. That's good. But you also just click them to their death. So remember, the swimming pool on this map is the swimming pool down on their side of the map. Below that big grey ramp, there's a big swimming pool.
Yeah.
You always need a Zergling sitting in the middle of that swimming pool because the watchtowers will not see move outs. The watchtowers are on the sides. This is kind of a common theme in a lot of maps these days. And it's kind of not going to say it. I'm sure Twitch chat will. It's shaped like a bit of a dirty something. Yeah, the swimming pool looks a bit like a dick. But yeah, put your Zergling in there, give it a bath. It'll see anything that moves out. And what kind of happened is you were kind of freezing up. These Overlords came out, and you just weren't building units for the longest time. And it was just like a bit of a freeze up, right? You were just kind of like, oh, what's going on? And it just took you forever to build units with all this lava. You had, all your lava starting to pop out. He moves out, and you just kind of sit on it for quite a while. It's something where it's like, well, if he's doing a Marine build, he's going to be hitting you 540 anyway, right? Something like that. So you should be building roaches around this time. So just the delay on the roaches was a bit awkward. So then you let him kind of set up. He clears your creep. And he really occupies you at this stage, and I feel like you just never macroed after this point smoothly because you were always under pressure. And it was great to see you splitting off your roaches, but you just never had enough drones to kind of do it. If you look at the worker counts from about 6 minutes onwards, you never really get past the low 40s in drones. And even when you stabilized on roaches, there was never that big swell of drones to saturate your third base.
Yeah, there was that moment where I kind of checked all my bases, and it was like 13, 16. On my natural and like 7, 16 on my third. And I was just like, well, yeah, I need to make workers.
Yeah, so you kind of just lost your kind of focus on your macro there. Remember, the drop defense doesn't really need to split up too early. Like, what happened right after that push is it was already an awkward cleanup because your roaches, if your roaches were just out, if you just built them, like the moment you see them push out, you could have just A-moved over that push while macroing. You could have been droning behind, like while engaging, doing all sorts of awesome stuff, and it could be amazing. But you got occupied, and then after you held the pressure, you just were a bit caught up, so you didn't really get back on top of drones, overlords, drones. I've got 14 roaches out. I'm safe for a while. So just try to have a bit more urgency in your droning next time. Try to always have a single Zergling outside their base. Don't just leave your Zergling sitting out there. That's it. Drone harder, nice tight build order, drone harder. If you need to build roaches, just build them, go back to droning, once you have got plenty of roaches. Make your life easy. So you always want to have enough units to A-move over your opponent, and that should be great. So hop out of that game. Let's take a hop into another one because there was some great beginning to the multi-prong defense, but this time around, I want you to just focus on your normal build and getting up to a normal situation a bit better first. And this is a good map for practicing this, by the way, because this is a map which is normally kind of Zerg favored when you're playing Ling Bane. When you're playing Roach Ravager, it's pretty hard to cover all your bases. Lots of space between them. Drops can come in from lots of angles, so it can work out really well. So, where'd you go? There you are. Giant Ton says, yo, I'm available to play if you need me. I think we should be good just with Fruit Seller and Peacekeeper. I get Fruit Seller in this next game. Just gonna see if Fruit Seller wants in. We'll see if he wants to play. If not, we'll just throw Maru in. It's alright, Peacekeeper's ready. Alright, we ready? All good. We get fruit cellar in the next one if we can. So yeah, just focus on droning nice and hard early. Build your roaches, aim move over your pressures, and drone nice and hard behind it. So yeah, I love the splitting up the roaches. Just make sure you've got a bit more urgency to saturate that third in the early game, and you should be in a good position. So good luck, have fun, man. All right, so I've just muted him, so I can't hear him. Stream can't hear him, and yeah, the keyboard will be crazy. Where's the Aussie flag as an emote? I don't know, man. Ever since Cronulla, the Cronulla riots, the Australian flag's just not the same, man. I love Australia, but too many bogans use that shit for their own fucking racist bullshit. To be fair, as long as it's not tattooed on your face, I think the Australian flag is fine. And who knows, there's probably some alright people out there who have it tattooed on their face as well. So guys, by the way, because Earl Rollo tipped $20, I only ate 2 of the jelly beans before, so I've got to eat 1 more while we're in this early game. And it looks like I've grabbed a soap. I think it's a soap. Soap jelly bean. No, that actually tastes really fucking good. That's not soap. Mmm. It's like fucking marzipan or something. It tastes so good. Nice. Is his endgame Roach Infest or does he transition to Ling Bane? I'm actually not sure what he's doing at the moment. To be honest, early to mid game is most games. In the past, I'm pretty sure it's just been Mass Roach Ravager. Yeah, because I don't think we've really focused on this in a little while. Yeah, and in the past we were really focusing on essentials, so I'm not actually sure. Not sure if he uses infestors. Alright. Opening looks kind of clean, however... Yeah, so there we go. His Zerglings are watching for the Reaper this time, that's good. He's keeping his eyes open. There we go. Reaper's going to be a bit of a dick, throwing some grenades at some poor little helpless Zerglings. And, that's, yeah, the Reaper's doing nice, man. He's running circles around him. But, you know what? Milkman's droning, which is the more important thing. As long as he's just spending his money, losing a few Zerglings is not the end of the world. And, oh, that Reaper! Hungry Reaper. Maru manages to get a kill there. We are in Western US, so this should be you know, favored towards Milkman in terms of ping. But Maru's showing some good micro there, so that was very nicely done. I think Maru's completely forgotten how to do a 2-on-1. It's funny. Which is good, because Maru, like I said, he's a Masters player, so he needs to have a bit of an efficiency with his build orders to be a good match here for Milkman. Like, he used to be a much stronger player, it's just his builds are not as efficient at the moment. So, Roach Warren goes down on 36. Where are the extra Overlords? Where's the third base? Come on. You got the cash. Might as well throw that third down, build an extra Overlord. You got a lot of money. Just focus on that macro. You're doing all right. I'm just gonna have him really quiet. So if he does say something, I should still be able to barely hear it, and then I can turn him up just in case he's asking a question. So for now, drones. Where are the drones? Drones and Overlords. Where are the drones and Overlords? There we go. Drones starting. Where's the Overlords? Need lots of Overlords. Haven't been building those ahead of time. He's only building 2 Overlords after I said that. He's floating 800 minerals. Whenever you're floating that much minerals, you really want to just be like, oh, build extra Overlords, doesn't matter, just get on top of my macro. So far this early game macro has not been great. So macro, early game, not great this game. So game 2. Early game supply blocks hurt. Man, he's got to build these overlords. You really need to queue up lots of overlords. You've got lots of money. Whenever you're floating excess money, just build extra overlords. 4, 5, 6 at a time. Yeah, like even then, he only queued up 2 when I told him. I'm like, man, you gotta... I hate to disrupt a player's rhythm, but he's just not building those supply block overlords. Whenever floating minerals, build heaps more overlords at a time to ensure you don't get supply blocked. Because if you get supply blocked after already floating minerals, like it's just double bad, you know? So he's only got 11 roaches. Now this is why you don't take this third as well. So this is something I probably should have pointed out last game. Okay. Thing is, you know, he should have been pre-split for this. On maps like this, you always need to be prepared for that. Pick up and drop in the main. So you need to have 15 roaches. So you can already have 5 in the main to kill the marines as they unload. So it's not about having enough roaches to defeat the unloaded marines in both locations. It's just having enough roaches, you know, 10 roaches to engage the marines in the low ground. They try to drop in the main. You got your roaches set up. Alright, you took a lot of damage, but just keep droning as hard as you can. You've got heaps of roaches out. You know, these are very scary units. You've just got to drone like a madman for a few minutes and try to recover that mineral count, try to recover that drone count. So work as hard as you can with that. Make sure you got your rally points in the right places. And good luck. See if you can get back in this game. There's always a chance if you can just power drones for the next minute or 2. So he's in big trouble. I think Maru is a little bit too high level for him. He's just punishing the errors a little bit too much. In terms of this game though, Milkman did just make some uncharacteristic mistakes. So, you know, it's always unfortunate when that happens, but this is just something where it's like, just tighten up that build, man. Just don't get supply blocked. It's fine. It's all fine. But yeah, I get the feeling that I'm actually throwing him off a little bit more by talking to him. So I might try to ease off on that. I always forget which players I can talk to a little bit and get good benefits and which ones I can't. I'm gonna eat a toasted marshmallow jelly bean because I'm a piece of shit who likes eating tasty things. Oh, it tastes so good. So he's droned up to 56. This is still not amazing. He's got 4 gas. If he can just take a 5th gas. He didn't use his drop defense squad. Drop hits natural. You forgot to send your squad there. Remember, every time they drop, that's what the squad is for. So right now he's really struggling to look around. I don't know what he's focusing on. He's not watching his minimap at all. It's really falling apart. He doesn't realize the third and the main have just been cleared out. He's just realized. That's all right, man. That one was a little bit tough there at the end. It's always that thing, you know, you're on the back foot. It's much harder to spot drops. Make sure you click rewind. Or if you've already exited, don't worry. You've already exited, right?
Yeah.
No worries. We'll hop in the replay together and just take a little look. But I want you to take a deep breath, ignore the last minute of that game. What went on early? What do you think was the main issue of that game? If you had to choose one thing to improve, to totally change the kind of flow of that game, what do you think you'd try to focus on?
Really, honestly, it's just the comfort of macro. I get, like, as soon as I get pressured, I just lose my cadence, and I have trouble dealing with early, even little things. Like I have trouble dealing with that without it then throws off just the timing of my pool or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's just, and that's the difference. I feel like there's a distinct difference between like a D3 Platinum 1 and like a D2 player where they just are able to drop like that and move around like that, and I just can't. It's like they have. It's almost like they have way too much APM for me to be able to deal with it. That's what it feels like.
This is really good. Okay, I'm really happy I asked that question. I'm really happy you answered that way, because this reveals a lot, right? And that's a very valid feeling, and it's basically makes me think of something which is really important to highlight, right? And that is, if by the way, Peacekeeper Maru, can you load up the replay so we can get in there, buddy? And that is making over preparing. Okay, so you're hitting a point where your opponents are knowing what the next step is. So if they hit you with a pressure and it gets them room in the game, it gives them momentum or anything like that, they know how to take advantage of that. They're getting you're in diamond now, right? If you clean up a drop, but it takes you a while and it kind of stretches you out a bit, he's gonna have macroed behind that. And then he's got another drop queued up to hit your natural, right? And it starts to spiral out of control, right? And this isn't just Zerg versus Terran. This is all matchups to some extent. Every race experiences this, right? It's not just Zerg that experiences it with drops. Everyone experiences this. The important thing is going to be for you to focus on shutting the fuck down on that pressure. Shutting it down hard so that you don't need to spend as much APM and focus on it. So a lot of what you'll see with fucking, like, okay, if I think of Dark, right? I watch Dark play, and he's constantly checking everything that's going on. We don't necessarily want to aim for, like, that Dark level of play. We want to aim for that, like, low-end pro gamer. I don't have the APM to do that, but I'm going to over-defend everything and just shut it down. And what you'll find when you watch a lot of pros is during a lot of engagements, a lot of early pressure defense, they basically know exactly what's coming their way. They look at it and they say, this requires X response. I'm going to have X response, and that's going to make my life, it's going to make my life easy. And you know what? Actually, not just X response. They'll say, okay, for instance, that Reaper is a good example. This Reaper is a perfect example. They'll say, I can defend a Reaper with 4 Zerglings, but it takes a lot of attention. And if they micro well, I'll lose a few Zerglings, and it can kind of throw me off, right? So we're going to always make 6 Zerglings every game. Going to make your life slightly easier, right? Okay, what about the drop? How many roaches do you want for your drop? What's your goal in the back of your head at the moment for being safe against the drop and just having enough to defend it? The first double drop.
I guess I haven't really focused on that as much because generally in my league, the double drop doesn't come at like 5:15 like it does, like, that stim timing.
Yep.
It doesn't come as crisply. Usually it's like 5:30 or later. So I'm trying to get to the saturation of the. Hold on, let me turn my game volume down.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just trying to get the half saturated third and start pumping out roaches, which is the kind of the build order that we had gone through.
Okay.
And
cool.
so that's more my focus than the army units or like dealing with that.
Right, so it's just kind of like get like a bunch of drones on the third, and then make some roaches until you feel safe, and then kind of mix drones and roaches, right? Just based on what's happening in the game. Fair enough. Generally speaking,
yes. And if this were an actual game, at some point during this game when I had decent supply, I would just go across the map, and then with the rest of my base is getting killed, and I would just rally reinforce against whatever's over here, and maybe I'd lose a base. But then I would because I just feel so lost at that point that I feel like I need to do something because I'm not sure it almost feels like he can't possibly be macroing behind this, or he can't possibly have anything at home if he's spending all his APM doing this. So normally once I have that critical mass and this is happening this badly, I would just walk across and see, and then it's kind of more of a coin flip of whether
Yeah, has he macroed
unable
well?
to do
Has he
anything.
put too much APM into the drops? And
Exactly.
he was supply blocked for a minute during that, and he's got his barracks up, but they haven't built anything. Yeah, so absolutely, and that's a desperation all in, and it's definitely something you lose a lot of drones. Not a bad choice to go for. And this game opened up that poorly, went very badly. But let's rewind a little bit and let's think about, okay, so we want you to be confident at that stage of the game. And the trick to that is having enough units at these moments to simply move over your opponent, go doop-de-doop, and keep droning behind it. You're building overlords. You're spreading overlords on the map. You're putting zerglings on watchtowers while your roaches are dealing with drops. Like there's this real... the beauty of Zerg is in the setup. And then when the fights actually start, there's not that much focus on them. It's about having, the right focus on the right things at the right time. So if... in this game, there's one clear thing which went wrong, which was you didn't deal with that drop. And there are two symptoms why. One is supply blocks. This game, your build order just was not executed well. This was not as well as you normally execute it. I know that because I've watched you play. And I know you've played this 1,000 times better than this before. But you can see here, very early on, you just forgot your overlord. So this is something very simple. When do you build that overlord? And you might do it by instinct, but if this is something which happens, and you might find it happens in only 1 in 3 games, but 1 in 3 games is still a fucking, it's too many, for a big mistake like this 36 supply block, right? So
That's probably accurate, yeah.
do you have a supply timer for it, or do you just kind of normally build it like a little bit before you get to 36?
The 36, usually when I get close, I'm so focused on the roach warren that I forget it actually half of the time. That overlord. Yeah,
so this is something which is, a really simple fix here is, well, okay, let's focus a little bit more on your overlords in the early game. And don't be afraid to build an overlord ahead of time. Like here, there was 2 or 3 times I kind of piped in and was like, you need to build more overlords, because each time you already started off with a supply block and you never recovered from it. So if you ever get supply blocked, you need to build more overlords to make sure it doesn't happen again. Because as soon as you get unsupply blocked, you've got all this lava and money sitting there, and you're gonna spend it just bam, instantly, and you'll be supply blocked again. So you need to always be like, oh, I've got 800 minerals, build 4 overlords. Even if I know it's not entirely efficient, build 5 overlords. It's fine, as long as you have to ensure you don't get supply blocked again. And you kind of just didn't get in that rhythm this game. And it might be because you're not used to someone talking in your ear telling you things. It could be for all sorts of reasons.
No, it's the pressure, and I started flooding as soon as the pressure hits. My whole rhythm of build roaches, two or 3 overlords at the end, or need to build an overlord so you can build drones. That whole macro cycle. When I get pressured, I kind of slip out of it, and I'm more worried about dealing with the pressure than I am about trying to figure out where I'm at in terms of my saturation.
Yeah, cool. And here in the early game, I mean, there wasn't that much pressure or anything, but it was just, you just kind of lost your rhythm, which happens randomly for no reason sometimes. It happens to everyone. It happens to me all the time. If you just look at your game and you're like, whoa, nothing happened to this game, and I just got supply blocked 3 times or something. This happens all the time. So in this game, these mistakes early on really slowed you down, because he is actually hitting a decent timing here. 13 Marines, 2 medevacs. He's hitting you at 5 minutes 30. This is not a pro gamer timing. By the time it's actually urgent that you deal with it, which is now, it's 5 minutes 40, right? But you were supply blocked until recently, and you've only got 11 roaches out. Now, generally, you'd like to have about 15 roaches. Maybe not already all out, but you'd like to at least have them on the way. And especially here on this map, we've got 2 important points. Number 1, always take the base to the north, and then take the gold base as your 4th, because gold bases are fucking great for Zerg. You know what? If you're not comfortable with the ledge below the gold base, you don't need to take the gold as your 4th, but always take the 3rd above your natural, because that's just so much easier to defend from drops. There's no dead space behind it, whereas otherwise they can do the pickup that we see here. So that's going to make your life a lot easier. Always on this map, expand up. Most of the time on Ascension to Aya, it's the same thing. Expand vertically rather than into the pocket, because the pocket just gives you too many angles for them to come in from, annoyingly, right? It's fine once you have mutas out, but that's so not something you're ever going for, and even if you were going mutas, they'd be very late unless it was 2-base muta. So all things considered, what are we seeing here? Okay, you just messed up your macro a little bit early, and then you just weren't quite ready for this pressure. Now let's use our fucking brain of mythical scenarios where everything goes perfect, right? That's what we're dreaming of right now. Open up your dreams to this getting shut down as hard as possible. If you did take this third base, and sometimes there's a map with this sort of base layout where they can just pick up and drop in your main, you're always going to deal with this situation. If you've got 15 roaches, 3 or 4 queens, preferably you should probably have 4 queens out, but 3 is fine. You can add another one a bit later. That's fine. You've got a bit of creep. It's all right. He's coming in 5 minutes 15, 5:20, whatever. You've got 15 roaches. What do you do? How do you split them? How do you deal with this?
5, 5, and 5. So if I had 15, then I can split 5 off basically into each base, right?
You can, but if he just stims on 5 roaches, say he's got 13, 16 marines, they're gonna make mincemeat out of them pretty quickly.
I guess it depends on if he's walking in or if he's flying medevacs in. That's 5 is plenty, I feel like, but if he's walking them in, then 10 would be enough probably.
You touched on a very good point there. It is enough if they're flying in, which is what happens at this moment, right? So if they're ever going to elevate, 5 roaches on the high ground stops the elevator. So what's more important than covering every base with 5 roaches, though? Because it's just seeing where they come from, right? So let's go back a little bit earlier. What do you always want then against someone who's opened up with this sort of marine drop stuff? A couple Zerglings out on the watchtowers are just fantastic. Because if you see what angle it comes from, they're almost always going to fly through the watchtower. If you just had a Zergling on each watchtower, a Zergling in the swimming pool, you're going to usually see this unless he goes on some weird roundabout path. In which case, by all means, split your roaches in 3 groups. But normally you want to keep things simple and have 2 groups for yourself. And it's like, okay, you spot him coming through. You've seen him coming from this angle. 5 roaches on the high ground, 10 roaches on the low ground. 10 roaches can overpower the marines. If they pick up and try to drop on top of 5 roaches, you're fine. It's clean, and you don't need to micro much. It's just like shut down, and you'd already be building drones and overlords during this. And that would make a big difference, because often what happens with pressure, and this is especially true for you, because you're like me, you're a player who gets really kind of thrown off their rhythm if you're getting pulled about and having to focus on the pressure, is how long it drags on and how long it forces you to look at it. The moment you have enough units ready before the pressure even hits you and you can just A-move at it, you are going to get so much value simply out of freeing up your attention and putting that back on your macro, getting you into that solid position. And what you're going to find is if you can start doing your opening a bit crisper every game, combine that with having your units in the correct positions for however you want to be defending or whatever the situation may be, you're going to just have more stuff every game, because you've already built another 15 drones in the time it's taken for these marines to skirmish with your roaches at the 3rd, elevate up here, be greeted by 5 roaches, achieve nothing. You're injecting, you're building overlords, you're building drones. Your 3rd's getting really nicely saturated. 6 minutes 30, you're saying to yourself, well, he hasn't done any damage, but he's probably building a lot more marines. I should start building a few more roaches off my 56 drone economy, 60 drone economy, whatever it may be, right? And you can just kind of envision that's the scenario that you want. And definitely it takes a bit of practice where if he's really putting a lot of APM into his drops, he sees the 5 roaches and he boosts past them and tries to drop behind your mineral line. And you need to do a little bit of micro. You do need to, get those roaches, click them on the medevacs so they automatically follow the medevacs and kind of, go back to macroing. But it's just about the minimal number of actions to deal with each bit of pressure, because the Terran player is never looking to kill you with this. To break even, they need to force a lot of units out of you, which they're always going to do because roaches are slow. You've got to build a lot of roaches to defend this. But they should not be able to find any more direct damage with it unless they put a lot of actions into it. And even then, it should only be a small amount of damage. So if you can simply stop them from distracting you and throwing you off your rhythm, that is how you beat pressure builds. That is how you beat basically every TVZ, every PVZ build. They want to throw you off, whether it's an Archon drop, a Marine drop. Their whole goal is for you to just kind of get so caught up in defending that you lose track of what you're dealing with, and you forget about your macro. And even without them doing direct damage, all they need to do is just keep you mentally tilted and thrown off, and the rest of the damage happens automatically. So a big part of Zerg is just keeping your macro rhythm while defending and having the beautiful setup for every situation, especially when it's a common build like this one, or maybe it's a Hellion run by you start to struggle with, having roaches left in your natural and at your 3rd, whatever the setup may be, the situation. Once you start to refine that, you're going to just be so much more comfortable. So what we're dealing with now is 2 things. One, You have not been able to defend multi-prong. You have not been able to deal with the mid-game well up to now. So you've got a whole backlog of trauma, of bad experiences, of bad games. You need to wipe that out of your brain. And we need to say, fresh slate, man. We're going to throw you up against Fruit Seller here for one last game. And I want you to just say, focus on doing a really sick build order. Don't think too much about the Roach defense, but just really sick opening. Make sure you remember, bam, 30 supply, build an Overlord. Let's put that as our focus. 30 supply, make sure I remember that Overlord. And that's just going to, make sure you don't get supply blocked. Big thanks to Peacekeeper for helping. He had to go anyway, so that's cool. Thank you, Mario. Appreciate that. I'm going to open up Odyssey one more time here. And we're going to expand north on the map, vertical, or north or south, along the edge of the map. So, number 1, Overlord on 30. Number 2, take your third base along the edge of the map. That's it. That's it. Just focus on your build order, get in your groove, and be confident. And you know what? Your goal here is not to win. And no matter what's happening, the moment you start feeling like, oh God, he's just fucking bouncing these dropships around, I want you to do one thing. And that is say, remember, this is just an exercise on me getting my unit split up. All I want to do is get 3 bases fully saturated and try to defend those bases with my Roach split. And if I do that, I will kick ass. These last couple of games, it hasn't worked. Why hasn't it worked? Because you've been way behind from very early on. But your Roach splits have been good. Your movements have been good. So now we need to focus on the macro, the opening. If we can get that down, what you've already learnt with the positioning and the stealing is going to pay off big time. So 30 Overlord, just do a nice opening, take that safer third base, kick some ass, man. All right. With lots.
I like the word trauma. That's a good word to use.
Yeah. Well, when you get your StarCraft PTSD, man, it's too many nights you wake up in a cold sweat thinking about, looking back at a mineral line and seeing Widow mines firing into masses of drones, Marines stimming into a mineral line, or the worst, where you've got victory in your grasp and you've just crushed a fight and you look back and 2 mineral lines are empty and you're like, what? How did I not notice that? But those will be a thing of the past. So just focus on that build, man. 30 supply, build that Overlord, get the third base straight up north of your natural, kick some ass, man. Good luck, have fun. Alright. So put him nice and quiet. There we go, guys. There we go. Irish Pig was nice to me, says Snoot. I shouldn't have beaten me in that ZvZ earlier today then, eh, Snoot? Oh yeah, Paramount 2. So yeah, about the whole. So what? You can't hear me, right, man, Mr. Milkman? No. So what he was saying there, right, was yeah, like he likes to get X drones on his third. The thing is, he means like X drones on his third, and that I think normally would keep him safe. And the reason I didn't totally just call him out for that and be like, no, that's fucking wrong, is because I think if he doesn't get supply blocked, he can get like 6 or 7 drones on his third and still defend at his league. And that's fine. If he can do that consistently, then and it works at his league, that's fine. If he gets to a bit of a higher level and he says, oh, you know what, I can only get 2 or 3 drones on my third, that's fine. It's playing to your level, I think, is kind of important. Is he maybe being a little bit too greedy? Maybe, but there's the opposite problem you can have of playing too safe, where you play to defend the timings that pros do, but you're not macroing as well as pros do. So you end up actually cutting even earlier in your drone count, and then you fuck yourself in the other way. So it's important to be balanced, and you are correct that it's like, well, you've seen a double drop play, you fucking should be trying to build units at a set timing, or at least thinking about it like, hey, I would say 4 minutes 40 for him, and he should have that sort of game timer. So Milkman, if you're watching this VOD, think of it that way. 4 minutes 40, if you're still struggling with drops, you should probably be building roaches. If you've lost an Overlord, if your build order's gone awry, things aren't as clean as normal, rather than just going, I'm just going to drone to the normal point, maybe drone just 2 drones on your natural and then build roaches. Maybe don't drone your third at all, build the roaches and then drone it up really hard. The most important thing is to shut down the next wave of pressure. So this is the big thing. When you fall behind in a game, whether through the opponent doing damage or you messing something up, you, to get back in the game, need to make your life easier, not harder. If you make it harder, you're bound to make more mistakes. So that was a bit sloppy there. Bit of a slow response from Milkman. Yeah, I feel like he's not too comfortable with his camera hotkeys. Oh, he might just be doing backspace, like manually bouncing through the hatch. Yeah, that could be it. It's okay. All right, so he does need to go take a third soon, but it's not until about 44 supplies. It's a pretty chill build order on the third timing. 8 armor ultralisk. Yeah, that gave a lot of people trauma for sure. For sure. He's building another overlord at a pretty good timing here. This is not bad. And he's building 2 more because he sees, oh, you know what? I'm touching my supply block. Let's build 2 more overlords. Delays his third by 5 seconds. Who cares? Not a big deal. That queen there, I don't really like the queen there, but I guess it's just go there ahead of time to make sure there's no Reaper. Yeah, whatever, that's fine. Where are the Zerglings? There's 4 Zerglings just chilling in the main base. Once again, only built 4 Zerglings. Should probably be building 6 just to make his life easier. Much more consistent droning this time around. Way more consistent. Now, it hasn't really got any scouting, so those Zerglings really should... Oh, he's splitting the Zerglings. Oh, fuck, I have an esports boner right now. I get so excited when people actually do the things I tell them to immediately. Normally, it takes a bit of time, right? Because there's lots of things I talk about. But whenever people fucking just immediately like put it into action, I'm like, oh, you make me so happy. You make me so happy. Because it's hard. When someone's just told you something, you're in a StarCraft game, you've got like 100 different things you're focusing on. And then to incorporate something new that's not part of your like repertoire, it's not part of your muscle memory, that's always a challenge. So definitely well done. Now, I don't know why Milkman's rallying to his third when he hasn't taken the gases on his natural yet. A little bit weird what's going on right now. All right, you've seen a lot of Marines. It's already 5 minutes. You really need to be massing those roaches. You've left it a bit late, but that's fine. Just make sure you build lots of overlords, lots of roaches. Remember, every time you see a pressure coming, you need to build extra overlords because that's the last thing you will think of. So you need to build that as a muscle memory. Keep building roaches and overlords, and you can do this. I'm going to write that one down. Yeah, he forgot to put on gas, so he actually doesn't have enough gas to build roaches either. We need to do this without an opponent because he's just not executing his build order. Alright, I'm writing out homework. Okay, so key points. 6 slings every game. 2 base saturation plus 3 gases mining. Start pumping roaches. That should be 4 minutes 40 latest. So verse 211, he at 2 base saturation with 3 mining gases, that's when he needs to start pumping roaches. And that's 4 minute 40 at the latest. 6 slings every game, plus positioned correctly to block Reaper. So split between bases if there's a jump in point. 30 Overlord. So you don't get blocked on 36. That's a big one. What else, guys? Only rally drones to third after saturating natural gases. That's an obvious one. Grind opening build order to perfection in an empty custom game. That's going to be his homework. So he needs to grind this build order. This is really important. Oh shit, he just got dropped, right? I think he just killed the medevac. Not too bad. He's so far down on units though, it's like, yeah, it's pretty bad position. So he's just gonna go all in. He's like, yeah, this has been kind of shit. I'm gonna go kill you. And it's the correct choice, but he just didn't defend properly early. So even if he wins, it's like, yeah. He did expand vertically for Axe, so he should remember that. I mean, I guess it's a key point, yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He's gonna win. Now what he should have done is set all of his rally points back here and be pumping roaches still so that these Marines can't massacre his economy. If they stimmed in, they would just kill his whole natural right now. And he should have been going to the ramp straight away, I think. He took way too long to do that. So now he's just let those siege tanks get a couple of volleys off. And he didn't kill the depots. So that other tank's going to do some good damage. Oh, get in there, get in there, get in there. Where's the corrosive fire? Fucking move. Oh, there we go. He's going to win the game, though. Fair enough. He's going to win. Okay. But yeah, he needs to grind his build to perfection in an empty custom game. And it turns out Paramount 2 was correct. I mean, if you're taking 3 gases, yeah, you can't drone that third up. That shit's crazy. GG! Nice, nice, nice. Congratulations. Alright. Bit of a messy early game again, but you got the win in the end. How are you feeling after that one, man?
It feels better. It's nice to stop on a win, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was unfortunately going back to your bad, nasty habit of kind of running across the map and just be like, just go kill him now. But it was a good timing and it was fine. But you didn't have a great drone count behind it. Obviously lost the third. So there is an important rule that needs to be applied here, which is you need to not drone your third against the 2-on-1. Doesn't matter, you know, because I realized you're taking 3 gases with this build, so it's actually just insane to be droning your third before a 2-on-1. So I've written a few awesome points for you in your document. It says key points. You get losing drones to Reapers. Build 6lings every game and position them to block the Reaper. Now that could mean having them split between your 2 bases. So you just, you know, rally up. 1 egg goes to the main, 2 eggs to the natural. Something like that, whatever, right? Okay, other thing. Verse 2-on-1, you will get to 2 base saturation. So you can open the replay up while we go over this very quickly if you want, by the way. 2 base saturation and your 2 gases. What happened in this game is you actually started rallying drones to your third, but you hadn't even put drones on your gas in your natural yet. Huge mistake, because you ended up not having any gas to build more roaches with, as well as, of course, just being too greedy and losing the third. So there was a point here where you had the perfect drone count because you macroed your opening so well this game, and I was very happy looking at it. You put Zerglings out, you put one in the swimming pool. The Zergling was having a swimming pool bath. Would have loved the other Zerglings on the watchtowers. I don't think that happened. No, it didn't. But what else?
It didn't happen until later. Yeah.
But nonetheless, you saw him move out, right? You were in a good position, but you just didn't start building roaches for way too long. You know, you started taking the gases really late. Yeah. And they just kind of took a bit long for those gases to go down. And most importantly, you didn't put drones on them. And then, you know, you didn't build overlords ahead. You just weren't thinking about it. So even with this amount of drones you built, this is kind of the right amount of drones, right? It's just, you're thinking of it as I can drone my third, but it's like, well, that means you're forgetting to put your guys on gas consistently. or something weird is going on, right? So there's this weird just lack of organization, and like this is a clean thing that I do to block 2-1-1 every game. This is one of the most common builds, so you really need to be tight on this. So what you need to be able to say is 2 bases saturated, both gases mining on the natural, pump a bunch of roaches, and to make sure, you should be looking at the game timer. You know he's building a lot of Marines. You know it's probably a 2-1-1. 4 minutes 40 is the latest you should start pumping those roaches. And this is later than most pros will be building it, but it's like the latest you want to start building those roaches. And remember, as you hit this point, you want to be building lots of overlords ahead of time. You're consistently getting supply blocked throughout these games. So what you want to, you want to really focus on, okay, I got to build roaches now. Roaches take double the supply of anything else I've been building. I will get supply blocked. I have this like ingrained thing when I'm playing roach play where I'm just like, I'm building roaches. And I'm just like, I build a lot of overlords and then I add like 4 more, like every cycle. I just like try to make the most obscene number of overlords, because whenever you're producing roaches, you will get supply blocked. Like it will just have a way of happening. They're so cheap. They use up so much supply. It always happens. So yeah, just try to always just the moment you're building roaches, you're building twice as many overlords as you normally do is a good thing to remember. And yeah, if you had your roaches out, your opening was so much better this game. So if you had those roaches out, that'd be great. So what I need you to do in your homework is play some custom games of this build order. And I need you to do it against no opponent. I need you to refine the opening so you're remembering your overlords. Pretend you're playing against 2-1-1 in some of those run-throughs. And be like, oh, it's 4 minutes 40. And I've got my 2 gases saturated. I've got the minerals saturated, my main and natural. Time to build those 15 roaches. And only after I've got those out can I drone like a crazy person. But up until then, just get that macro down. I want you to do the first 5 minutes basically as clean as you did at this game, just starting the overlords and roaches earlier instead of hitting that supply block, which ended up being your undoing. So even though you won this game, you can imagine if you defend that pressure and you do the exact same thing, you could have done the same timing attack with the same number of units, except you could have had 15 more drones and a third base the whole time, So think about how much you would outclass your opponent if you can do that. So your opening looked really crisp that game, way better in your previous games. Your roach defense with the drop squad already looking a lot better, but you need to refine your opening and your defense against the initial 2-1-1. Unfortunately, we didn't get to look at other situations, but it's the same thing for every situation. Remember what I was talking about before. I want you to apply this same philosophy of, I want to be able to A-move the pressure. You identify the common pressures. You say, how can I A-move that? Something like a 2-1-1 is really good because it's so consistent. It's always hitting within like a 30-second window. It's always the same number of units. You can always have a set reaction. So those sort of things, you need to just be like, oh, it's this thing. I know exactly what to do. This number of units, bam. And while you're dealing with it, you're just fucking droning. You're building overlords. You're spreading creep. The moment you can start doing that, that's when you are going to be like, oh, Diamond 2, Diamond 1, here I come. You're just going to ascend to the next level. So it should be really cool if you can get that going.
Thank you. This has been very helpful.
Awesome sauce. Yeah, so memorizing responses to different pressures. Obviously, we focused on one today, but memorizing ones for other ones that are common. Tightening up the build orders, the never-ending, kind of thing in StarCraft. Less supply blocks, better spending, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, for the most part, I think it's just about that. Try to always slightly over-defend, be overly ready for these pressures, because then you can put your actions where you need it, and you can stop them getting under your skin. The moment you're a little bit not ready for a pressure, that's when your opponent starts to be like, hey, I'm going to micro in here and grab 3 or 4 drones because you weren't quite in position to stop it. I'm going to pick up and drop in your natural. And you're always one step behind, and that's a slippery slope. So slightly over-defending pressures, playing slightly overly safe because it frees up your actions to spend your drones better, spend your macro better, and that should be amazing.
Do you think in general, like how clean the macro is kind of a difference between like a D3 and a D1? Is a lot of it macro? It's
very like specific on each player. I'd say it comes down to like sometimes it is just like macro like type build orders, but a lot of it can also be, especially around maybe it's more Diamond 1 Masters. It's different for each player.
Sure.
Is also like just recognizing things and adapting to them. Yeah. I feel like in Diamond 3 players will just do the same thing every game, whether they're playing Hellions or they're playing 2-1-1, right? Where you get to Diamond 1 and players are starting to adapt a little bit more to each one. And then I guess it's usually, And depending on the player, it might also be the opposite. Instead, it's like, no, they're actually like adapting really well, but their build order is just not tight at all. So their macro is just not good enough. So it's 50-50 depending on the player. What I saw in this game was some games it was one, some games it was the other. So I can't really say which one's the most important for you. But as always in StarCraft, the great thing about it is you're always really bad at everything. So you can literally just choose one thing and say, I'm going to get better at that. And you will see big improvement. So you always have this choice where you can just be like, you know what? I want to improve at that because I feel like it's a weakness, or I feel like it's something I crave being better at that. So if I can just focus on that, bam, improvement, it just happens. So yeah, I didn't see one that was standing out more than the other though for you.
Okay. All right.
Awesome, man.